All right, today we're diving into a scientific paper that honestly reads like something straight out of science fiction. It completely reframes how we think about aging, not as this inevitable thing that just happens, but as a specific solvable problem.
I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. What if getting older wasn't something that just happened to you, but something you could actually, control? That's the wild possibility at the heart of the research we're getting into today. And this quote right here, it just nails the stakes. We're not talking about a few wrinkles or some gray hair. Nope. We're talking about the thing that's at the root of heart disease, cancer, dementia, you name it. The goal here isn't just about looking younger. It's about going after the fundamental driver of almost every disease we know. So this leads us to the absolute core of this work, a truly radical new idea. What if aging isn't random? What if it's more like a program, kind of like software running in our cells, a program that we could maybe access and even rewrite?
This is a complete 180 in thinking. I mean, the old view, over on the left, is that we're basically like cars. We just kind of rust and break down over time from random damage. But this new theory? Totally different. It suggests aging is a deliberate, coordinated genetic program. And well, if a program can be switched on, you know where this is going, it can also be switched off.
Okay, so if aging is a program, then somewhere hidden in our DNA there has to be the run command, the thing that kicks it all off. So this next part is all about the hunt for that command, the search for the master switch itself.
After just a ton of work, analyzing genomes of people who lived past 110, using cutting-edge gene editing tools, the team finally zeroed in on a specific address in our genome, chromosome 14. And right there, they found the two key players that are running this whole show.
Think of it like a light switch in your house. The first player is this thing called SOMS, the aging master switch. When it flips on, it doesn't just turn on a light. It cuts power to your cell repair crew. And this crew, called LAP, is a team of 12 absolutely critical genes that does everything from fixing DNA to clearing out toxic junk. So when SOMS flips on, that entire repair crew just gets shut down.
Which brings up the obvious question, right? For most of our young lives, this repair crew is humming along, doing its job perfectly. So when does the master switch decide to just, pull the plug?
And the data on this is, well, it's startlingly precise. The activation of this SMAS switch is super low all through childhood, but then it just spikes. The research pinpointed that at a mean age of 18.7 years, the switch gets flipped. The aging program officially begins pretty much the moment we leave our teenage years behind.
And here's what happens when that crew goes offline. The consequences are, well, they're exactly what we call aging. Tiny bits of DNA damage that used to get fixed instantly now start to pile up. Toxic proteins, like the amyloid plaques you hear about in Alzheimer's, they're not getting cleared out anymore. Essentially, the cell's main operating system just slowly gets corrupted. But look, stopping the decay, that's only half the battle. To really, truly reverse aging, you've got to be able to rebuild what's already been lost. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most incredible piece of this whole puzzle. Okay, first, a super quick biology refresh. At the very ends of our chromosomes, we have these little protective caps called telomeres. Just think of them like the plastic tips on your shoelaces that keep them from fraying. Every single time a cell divides, those telomeres get a little bit shorter. And when they get too short, the cell just stops dividing and gets old. It's one of the main clocks of aging. And here is the big breakthrough. Tucked away inside that 12-gene cell repair crew, the one that gets turned off by the master switch, the team discovered one specific gene that is the master regulator for telomeres. They gave it the name CG1, or Chen's gene.
Now, what makes Chen's gene so ridiculously powerful is its unique two-step action. It's like a 1-2 punch. First, the protein it makes creates this protective seal on the telomeres, which completely stops them from getting any shorter. But then, and this is the amazing part, it calls in another enzyme that actively rebuilds the telomere, adding length back until it's restored to its original youthful state. It doesn't just pause the clock, it actually turns it backwards.
Okay, so we have all the pieces on the board, a master switch we can turn off, a repair crew we can turn back on, and Chen's gene to rebuild the clocks. The next step was pretty obvious. Put it all together into a single therapy and see if you can actually reverse aging in a living cell. So the team developed this treatment. They used a harmless virus to basically deliver a genetic package into old human cells. And the goals were simple and direct. Flip that master switch back to off, which automatically turns the repair crew back on, and then supercharge Chen's gene to get to work rebuilding those telomeres.
The results were, wow, they were almost immediate. In just 72 hours, the entire 12-gene repair crew was back online and fully functional inside these old human cells.
But it didn't stop there. Just 24 hours later, so now we're at the 96-hour mark, the telomeres in those very same cells had been completely rebuilt to the length you would find in the cells of a young child.
But here it is, the ultimate test, a living animal. The team gave a single dose of the treatment to old mice, and in a stunning 8 weeks, key biomarkers of aging were reversed. We're talking muscle atrophy, cognitive decline, even their fur color, all restored to a much more youthful state. They had actually reversed aging in a living mammal.
So, where does that leave us? I mean, the science laid out in this paper is a complete and total game changer. It shifts the entire conversation away from the how of the science to the much more profound and frankly kind of terrifying question of what now?
Even the researchers themselves say it right in the paper. The ethical questions are just immense. This isn't just another new medicine. It's a technology that could fundamentally change society and what it even means to be human.
So the big takeaway is this. We are now looking at a future where aging might no longer be a fact of life. It could just be a technical condition, something that can be managed and maybe even reversed. The ripple effects for everything, our economy, our families, the planet, it's almost impossible to get your head around.
This research gives us the how. It lays out a blueprint for how to do this. But it leaves us with the much harder questions. Why should we do this? And maybe the most important and most difficult question of all, who gets to live forever? That is a conversation we all desperately need to start having.